it is. We're here to go ahead and talk about the life decisions that we make in critical thinking in order to synthesize better decisions. Today is an easy one, a fun one. We're arguing right now. And by we, I mean I am arguing with my brother because he don't know as much as he think he does. And I got to prove him wrong once again. But first things first. Happy birthday to you. For those of you who don't know, Brother Will's birthday just passed. So if you want to, drop him a note, Real Benchmark Podcast at Gmail, the Facebook, whatever. Drop him a note and tell him it's happy what birthday?
Yes. And you know, a perfect birthday present for me would be to spread our words of peace and love to the universe and to spread benchmark out there for all guys.
I ain't mad at you. But this is one that might be more of Rob Jefferson's favorite. We were arguing about the X-Men, specifically, don't make that face, specifically Quicksilver. And I was like, yeah, Quicksilver's fast, but it's not that fast. And I'm like, if we had, the Avengers, who have some of the heaviest hitters known to man, and technically everybody's an Avenger, don't believe me, Avengers is a symbol. But if the Avengers and the X-Men win at it, well, you only need a few Avengers. I'm pretty sure that Thor and Danvers can take out most of the X-Men, save the telepaths. Telepaths win, we know that, that's what it is. So unless they come with a blitzkrieg, which Thor literally could do, who would go ahead and withstand them? Who do you think would withstand them, Brother Wolf?
So one thing that my brother is beginning to think about, and I'm just going to put this out here and see if he realizes the flaws in his logic, which is the fact that the Phoenix Force is a thing.
The Phoenix Force is not an X-Men.
Yes, wait.
The Phoenix Force is not an X-Men. The Phoenix Force is a liar.
You're going to take away the telekinesis. That's already called bullcrap because we
not
have
telekinesis.
guards on the Avengers.
Not telekinesis. Telepath.
Telepathicness. You're going to take away the telepathicness.
Wait,
which, number one,
telepathicness?
yes, it is a thing. But number one, that already is a handicap against the X-Men.
No. I'm being completely fair. I'm saying we're not including them because that's a win for the X-Men. I'm relinquishing that point.
Okay.
I'm giving that one away. So no, I'm not saying I'm handicapping you. I'm saying take out telepaths. Who could take out Thor and or Danvers?
And now you're going to tell me I can't even go with the Phoenix Force X-Men because there were Phoenix Force members of the X-Men.
Okay, if that's
Cyclops had the Phoenix Force. He was not a telepath. Colossus had the Phoenix Force. He was not a telepath.
Well, first off, the Phoenix Force is not an X-Man.
The Phoenix Force is a power that it resides inside. See how he's backpedaling? See how he's pulling a Kirk all of a sudden?
Kirk.
Yeah, you know the thing that you always used to tell me I used to pull all the time. The thing that Kirk did during the test to beat the unbeatable test. And
the Kobayashi Maru.
The Kobayashi Maru. He used to call me Kobayashi. Now he's Kobayashi Maruing. That's all I'm saying is the fact that he is leaving out a key little aspect of the X-Men.
That's not the X-Men. That's the Jean Grey saga.
That is not just the Jean Grey saga because there was a time which shout out Secret Wars is about to happen. Phase 5. Did you know we were in the Phase 5?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know we were in the Phase 5
because Phase 4 was that garbage. I told you that before.
Oh please, it wasn't that bad. But
it wasn't that good for you to keep up with it.
Actually, I just recently saw all of Phase 4, and you know why? Last week. I'm back from it now, but last week I had COVID.
Which is part of the reason why we're talking about this, because he was out of commission. So what did he do? Netflix and sick.
Which included watching the entirety of Phase 4. I watched every TV show, every movie.
Shang-Chi,
all of them.
Black Widow, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever.
Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Hawkeye.
Yeah, like you said, She-Hulk, Hawkeye, Miss Marvel.
Ms. Marvel.
Ms. Marvel.
And don't get me wrong, I say it wrong all the time. That's why I'm like, y'all need to make two of them. Miss or Ms. And then call it a wrap.
Well, coming up soon, they're going to have the Marvels, which happens in Phase 5, which is like all
which
of
is
them.
going to be horrible. That's going to be a tank. That's going to be bad.
You're saying that's going to be the Eternals in the next round? Which I think is, I think the Eternals got a really bad like pull from this.
Okay, let me say it this way. I believe I would rather see Rom Space Knight than the Eternals. The Eternals hadn't been relevant until AXE. For those who don't know, it's Avengers versus X-Men versus Eternals. Mm-hmm. And to be quite honest, if you were to, before the Eternals movie came out, if you were to tell somebody, name 5 Eternals, unless you are a comic book fan, and then arguably you don't even know the Eternals. Like, I can name Cersei because of the old trading cards, and I knew that one. After that, I didn't know, nor did I care. I never knew their prime directive.
I knew Icarus from before.
I didn't know nothing about them except that they existed, and I really didn't care.
And then I have to say probably one of the better parts of... Well, first of all, here's the other thing. Phase 4 did a really good job of setting up, and it talked about it a lot because they talked about the difference in between certain characters, what the difference was in between a normal version of the character and a version of the character with a different gene in it. They talked about.
You mean like the Phoenix Force? We're not talking about unnecessary random shit.
Well, like I said, and so the reason why they did that was they're setting up mutants. They did use the word a lot during the last few series of Phase 4 to say this was a mutant version of this gene. This was a mutant version of this group of people.
And that's fine, but the funny part about it is that you didn't have to go this far. With Monica Rambeau being introduced, when you had that in WandaVision, you could have did it there. And it seems like a brass band is playing outside. So if you hear that,
I was wondering. I was like, wait. I don't want to get a copyright strike. I was like, no, this is not on us.
No. There was so with the rain yesterday. So this last weekend of Jazz Fest. Rain Saturday all day. Right. And what ended up happening was there was supposed to be a memorial for a young lady who passed in the neighborhood. And supposed to have the DJ, the band, all that fun stuff. Well, it didn't work out. So it looks like we have background music, and we're going to try to minimize that as much as possible.
Absolutely. So, but yeah, like I was saying, they did do a good setup, I believe. But as an answer to your question, once you handicap them by taking away the telepath,
not handicap, give them the automatic victory. I'm not going to sit there and do that.
And take away the Phoenix Force.
The Phoenix Force is not an X-Man.
The Phoenix Force is an ability in a lot of
It is
X-Men.
Not an ability.
Yes, it is an ability. That's what they listed. When the person gets the Phoenix Force in them, the exact terminology that they use now, it has been retconned. Understand that. But the exact terminology that they use at the current time with it is that the Phoenix Force is an amplifier of whatever your normal abilities are.
It's an enhancer, and it provides other abilities as well.
Yeah,
because the Phoenix Force, first off, what is the Phoenix Force? Do you know?
The Phoenix Force is a cosmic entity that goes to different solar systems, and quite often it winds up destroying them because it feeds off of life energy and everything like that.
No.
It uses it to power it.
No, it is the sum total of life in the multiverse.
Sum total of life in the multiverse. That sounds about right.
Yeah. It's multiversal, not universal. It's that strong.
Yeah.
So the point being is that it is cosmic. It's not an X-Man.
First of all, that does not mean you are not an X-Men because you are cosmic. That does not mean that.
Shi'ar, Lalandra of the Shi'ar is not an X-Man. Just because her and Xavier touch naughty bits regularly does not mean she's an X-Man. Just like Redman. Redman is not a member of Wu-Tang Clan. That's mess homie, and that's it.
But like I was saying, it can be, there are certain X-Men who, while being X-Men, use the Phoenix Force.
Okay, so Colossus, Magic, Namor, Emma, Cyclops.
Uh-huh. And we can't include Emma because you said no telepath, so I'll give you that.
But
one.
when you have the ability of the Phoenix, you have ascended. You are not an X-Man anymore. Remember, the Phoenix Force took out Thor. You do know that, right?
Yeah, I know it. That's why I'm saying it.
So you're cheating, and you're literally not playing by the spirit of the law. I'm like I said.
This is why I'm going with it. It's because
how about this?
Don't get mad because I found the loophole in your argument.
Okay.
Don't get mad.
Well, I'm DeSantising your Disney. We shutting this shit down. We shutting it down.
Well, I'm just gonna have to put the name of my park in the prince's name, so I can have it for the next 53 years.
Which actually leads me to another question I was going to get to. If you are Disney, and let's say DeSantis gets his way, what do you do? Where do you move to? I said go to Georgia. It's up the street. Atlanta's a big enough hub. You can go ahead and get enough people hired.
There is no room in Georgia. We'll continue that.
You can get rid of the Falcons for Disney. I would do that trade.
My God, I would do.
Well then.
Something just tells me that the little small area that the Falcons is in is not big enough for Disney.
We can start somewhere. We can just move it piecemeal. This is Epcot. Then we go ahead and go like to further out. We'll go to Savannah. That'll be, that'll be Marvel Land. But no, you telling me you would have.
I would hope that they would go to freaking Louisiana, but
if that's the case, and we're doing an episode on this, I would rather a Buc-ee's be in Louisiana.
A Buc-ee's?
Yeah. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong.
I mean, like when you ever see their listing of what you can do and what you can make, and if you've ever been on a road trip and you had to go, and you had to go bad, what would you rather see? A rest stop when you know the key is going to have a hubcap to it, or would you rather see a Buc-ee's, which is well lit, welcoming? There's hand sanitizer for your hands. There's slushies in Arizona and beaver nuggets and all this stuff. That's the only time I see vermin on the road, and I'm happy.
Hey, there is an opening right now. They're finally starting to do something with the freaking Jazzlands old area, so maybe so.
So what you're saying is we should get rid of Jazzland for Disney?
I'm saying it's a strong possibility, but in all likelihood, they're going to go someplace where there is a butt ton of land, which is going to be a place like Arkansas,
Texas,
or Texas. Well, no, they ain't going to go to Texas because they're going to run into the same problem they ran into Florida. Probably they're going to run into the same problem they ran into Florida and Texas. Arkansas, they'll probably be okay with it, but they're not going to be able to deal with it because the group of people that are in Florida that contends with them are the same group of people that are in Texas that would contend with them.
I don't disagree. I just believe that considering that we found out when we had that freeze a few years back that Texas has been overpaying their utility bills, if Disney could come in and create such a large subsidiary to where there's a new option, all of a sudden, if we believe in the capitalistic market and we believe in competition, Disney has just lowered prices on utilities. Tell me that's not a voting point for them.
I mean, that is true. I'm not saying it wouldn't be a smart idea for Texas. I'm just saying I'm not exactly sure if Texas would consider it. But
fair, but back to the lecture at hand.
Yes.
Name the X-Men that are not the Phoenix Force imbued individuals.
Oh my gosh.
Or telepaths, because I'm relinquishing that one. You win that one. Okay. So if you're not a telepath and you're not the Phoenix Force, who can beat Thor and or Danvers?
Okay. What if we say let's go with Mimic? He was a member of the X-Men previously. You remember what Mimic's ability was?
To mimic other mutants.
Other abilities, not just mutants.
Mutants. And that's one of the problems, too, is that Mimic, he was that retcon up and down, and that's why he was good around the X-Men, because X-Men had all the abilities, but couldn't do it. But here's the thing. Just because you mimic, just like Taskmaster, Just because you mimic it don't mean you're proficient with it. I mean, I'll tell you right now, name all the people who've been hit with Mjolnir that got up after Thor was really angry.
I can't think of one.
I like Ultron.
Maybe so.
You know, Thanos. You know, like after that, it don't really count.
And then also, what side are we putting the ones on that were on both the X-Men and the Avengers? Like ones like Beast.
Or Quicksilver.
Or Quicksilver.
Or Wolverine, since he was on every team known to man.
Yeah, that would be another thing, unless we would even them out and say, well, they were on both of them, so
I'm just putting it like this:
would take each other out.
If you were ever an X-Man, you can go against them. You can pick them to go ahead and go against those two.
Yeah. So
and the problem is that that's the point I was trying to make is that the Avengers have such heavy hitters that it doesn't really matter. They just don't have as good storylines because we like the X-Men more.
I mean, it's kind of like a Dragon Ball Z argument. Like how do all of the Dragon Ball Z characters win any fight? All the Dragon Ball Z bad guys win any fight?
They don't go to the last page of the script.
No, they blow up the planet. That's the general thing. Is okay. This hero is so ungodly powerful. He can kick my behind any other way. I will blow up the planet he's on, and I don't have to worry about him anymore. On to the next scene. And then next thing you know, somebody wishes him back for the Dragon Ball, and they sneak attack you.
Touche. That's one of the things I never liked about Dragon Ball. You know that it's one of those. Next time on Dragon Ball Z, Goku screams, Piccolo yells, Krillin dies.
And that's the end of that episode of Dragon Ball Z.
Like, come on, man. Give me something better than this. So come on now. Don't just sip your Coca-Cola. No. Tell me, pick who else, who of the X-Men could whoop that ass?
Like I said, I've already gone through all of the possible scenarios that I had that would be people that would potentially win those matches. I'm trying to think of anybody else. Are we including Scarlet Witch as an X-Men or a mutant at this or
Avenger?
Avenger at this?
She could be one of the ones that would do it. The problem is because it requires so much concentration and effort. If, like I said, if she gets blitzkrieged, it's very possible she won't be able to do anything.
I mean, and there are times in which the Juggernaut has the full powers of the Sideric crystal, and it doesn't matter what you do, he will keep going. He is the constant movable object, so it doesn't matter what you throw at him, he will continue to go forward.
I was going to say unstoppable force, yeah.
Yeah, so
he's not a mutant except in the movies.
Yeah, and he does play an X-Men quite a bit. Yeah,
I mean, he was an X-Man, yes, he was.
Yeah, so
but between he could probably beat Danvers, and I'm thinking about like Warbird, Ms. Marvel Danvers, not Captain Marvel Danvers. Like they upped her power level a lot. So yeah.
I mean, the funny thing is, they said it in Miss Marvel that I didn't even catch. They're like, yeah, Captain Marvel punched Thanos. It's like, that's a credit to her name.
Yeah.
like none of the other heroes could even lay a hand on him. She went, gotcha.
I got some work. I mean, like, the scene in which they're wrestling over the Infinity Gauntlet, it's a testament to her power level, but it's also a testament to how battle-wizened Thanos is. It's like, I'm not fighting this battle. I'm going to make a new battle. Take this gem, go that way! And you saw her blasting off like Team Rocket. So you have nobody else, which was the point I was trying to make. Like, there might be some people you could go ahead and argue, like Soraya, maybe Storm, Magic theoretically because of the Soul Sword. You know what I mean? Some stuff like that. But
I mean, the general problem is the fact that X-Men typically were a subset of heroes. They were mutants, whereas Avengers could be any kind of entity. Basically, that was a big difference in between them because the Avengers was like any kind of hero from cosmic to mutant to.
No, like I said, in that part I get, but don't forget, mutants are arguably some of the most powerful individuals on the planet, except for like Beak.
Right.
So that's why, like I said, I relinquish telepaths. Like you could have picked somebody like Proteus.
Yeah, that's true.
Like
was Warlock ever X-Men? I think he was.
Which Warlock?
Adam Warlock.
No,
Adam Warlock was not an X-Men.
he was not X-Man. No, he was not. He never represented the X at any point. But theoretically, he should have.
Yeah.
He's a high evolutionary creation.
Yeah.
Now the other Warlock, he was from that technological place, but yeah, that Warlock is what was it? Power Pack, I think he was associated with. Basically, the X babies, so whatever.
Yeah, but Adam Warlock was never an X-Men.
No.
Okay, that's one. And I don't know. Are we considering when the Fantastic Four were members of the Avengers?
Well, remember, we were talking about which X-Men could beat Thor or Danvers.
Oh, it's just Thor or Danvers?
Yeah.
Okay.
And or Danvers.
What about Chamber?
Chamber.
Or Banshee?
Banshee? All he can do is Minnie Riperton. No.
I mean, he had before there was Black Bolt, Banshee's voice was like the strongest sound in the universe. It was literally powerful enough to make people's eardrums snap and cause a brain bleed.
And then we had Black Bolt destroy mountains.
Yeah, I know that that was a little that was a little bit. Whereas we're gonna make this one is gonna be just a little version of the other one.
The problem is that when you realize that Thor is a god and how dense he is, don't really matter. It's going to annoy the piss out of him. But and the other thing is this: Thor flies at the speed of what?
Thunder.
I was going to say lightning, but close enough. We'll go with that. Banshee flies at the speed of what?
I think that's a Mach 2. Yeah, I think you did. Yeah, I think
at a not thunder. So when he cracks open the heavens and has the lightning hit him, and because he's in the air screaming his fool head off, and he's not grounded, you're going to have a crispy Irishman.
Yeah.
So the point I was trying to make is that they hit that hard, they hit that heavy. That's why they're called the Avengers, or should have been the Revengers, to be quite honest, because somebody already messed over you.
True.
But yeah.
Well, no. I mean, Oh, okay. That's the difference in between the movie and the comics. In the movie, they were formed before somebody messed over them, and because Nick Fury knew an upcoming threat was an inevitability. In the comics, they were founded, as you said, as a response to a threat. This is correct.
Yeah, they're responding to a threat.
Right. I believe in the comics it was Red Skull.
No. Loki.
Oh, in the comics it was Loki too?
The original one, it was bulky Iron Man, Hulk. Cap wasn't around at this point because he hadn't been found. And I want to say like it was Wasp or Ant-Man. Like I have to look up who the founding members are. I never remember. Mm-hmm. But if you see because I can see the comic book.
You're right. I can see the cover. I just can't
picture everybody.
Right.
Like, hold on. I'm gonna just look it up and ask press the buttons and ask the Google, dear Lord and Overlord, who are the founding members of the Avengers?
But yeah,
Iron Man, Hulk, Thor, Wasp, Ant-Man.
And that does kind of make sense because also they didn't have anybody on the team that could have been on other teams at that point because they were like, okay, this is going to be a group that operates in the same universe, so we can't have them be with other groups. That
crossovers weren't a thing, real thing. Yeah, so yeah. So if you have a choice, you know, you don't have too many people with that. And the original Iron Man was not the bee's knees. Right. Thor and Hulk, the bee's knees.
Yeah, they were the heavy hitters.
Heavy hitters. You know?
So, I mean, they still got that whole bromance thing going on in the Marvel Universe. Although they didn't really talk about it that much towards the end of it because, like, Thor towards the end, he was kind of like brooding the loss of... I hope I'm not spoiling. First of all, let me subtitle this. Spoilers. At the end of Thor, Love and Thunder, Thor is at the situation whereas he's definitely a different Thor because he has lost Jane Foster. He lost female Thor. So that meant that, you know, it in his heart, you know, he just had to give her up. And then also Hulk is in a different place because he's no longer. We find out at the end of She-Hulk that he had spent time on the other planet, and he picked up his son that he had at the end of Score. I think.
World War Hulk.
Yeah, and that was it. Well, you find out during Thor.
So you just putting all the spoilers out there.
Well,
huh?
yeah, I said I preference spoiler with this. But you found out, I think it was during Thor Ragnarok or whatever, when you found out that he realized that the rest of them really didn't want him to come back. So it was just like not realized, but he believed the rest of them didn't want him to come back. So he spent some time off world at another place, and so we found out during She-Hulk that while he was off-world at the other place, he had a son. And, you know, he brought the surprise to that She-Hulk family reunion where everybody was over there and they wondered where Bruce had been. And he said, surprise, everybody, here's my son. And then there was this big, huge beast because he doesn't have the ability to become a human. So
he's only Hulk, yeah.
He's only a Hulk. So, and they're like, okay. And he doesn't have a smile on his face, and he's just a brooding teenager.
Scar is by far one of the people in the Marvel Universe. If you're going to pick a fight with somebody, that's not one of the ones you pick a fight with. He's willing to go there. Right. Just like everybody's like, oh, Moon Knight is just Batman who kills. That's the point. Yeah. Like, he will drop you like a bad habit, no problem.
Yeah, that's
also. Can we say that? Are we supposed to say unalive?
I don't know if it's drop. I think is safe. Drop is
no using the K word.
Yeah. You can't really say yeah. I think
then I'm gonna quote Rob like he says it. I'm gonna help you figure out where the end of your living is, and we're gonna get there soon.
But yeah, I think you got me. I ran out of situations where I couldn't go with the Phoenix 5 or the thing like that. So if we were to have a benchmark for today's episode, it would be like, don't just have a plan A or plan B, have a plan C.
Fair enough. But with that said, hopefully we go figure out a new spot for Disney.
Yeah.
Hopefully Phase 5 is worthwhile because Phase 4 was kind of garbage.
Yeah, it was definitely compared to Phase 3, it was a letdown. But that's because
Phase 3 was a culmination of 10 years.
And that's why. That's kind of the reason why.
So now we're back on the roller coaster ride up. This is the re-exposition and all that other stuff.
They say Phase 5 is supposed to, like, it's no longer going to be 3 phase waves, I guess you could say. They say there's going to be 2 phase waves. So Phase 5 is supposed to be the culmination of everything we saw in Phase 4.
And you know what the other problem is? Is that as someone who is a fan of comic books, specifically Marvel, y'all picked some bad characters. Y'all really did.
Well, remember, we're at the point now in which, and you can see the old guard is phasing out, and that's what it is. And this is the new guard. And for people like me and you, we really didn't have as much of an attachment to the new guard as we had to the old guard. Now, this younger generation, this may be something big for them.
And that's a fair point. Good on you.
They grew up with characters like Riri and
Kate Bishop
and Kate Bishop, and and some of those other characters like that. And also this Phase 5, It's going to have Secret Wars in it. It's going to have.
I guess part of the issue I have is, apologies for interrupting you. A bartender friend of mine, he was like, "I don't understand this. Can you explain it to me?" Sure. Here's what I'll go ahead and do. And I said, "Hold up, I got something for you." And I gave him the first 3-4 comics of Civil War. And when he saw the comic book Civil War versus the movie, he was like, "Oh, they had so much better source material. So much better source material." And when you realize Marvel has been a company since the 60s and it's 2020s now,
Right.
that's a lot of time and a lot of stories to pull, even though it might be from the same like, tell you what, I would love to see Superior Spider-Man on the big screen. That's a great storyline. That's arguably one of Spider-Man's best.
And here's the thing. That's another thing is in the animated universe, the second not into
Spider-Verse.
the second Spider-Verse is going to come out. So they got that. Also, they're finally bringing in some of the mutants with Deadpool is going to be part of the Marvel verse in this next phase, phase 5. They're gonna finally end the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy.
Thank God.
Like I said, I can't get my brother in order to get down with him because he's
My
just
favorite
not a fan of
Guardian of the Galaxy is Charlie 27.
Yeah, and they haven't had that one on there. And so it's going to be a big phase as far as that. They're going to finish what they set up during Loki in phase 4, which is talking about Kang the Conqueror. And
The most garbage villain. Ugh.
and Ant-Man and Quantumania, in which this, I mean, you can't, if you have the power in order to go at any point in time and know what's going to happen past to all the way at the end of time in the future, you can't be that garbage. You just have to watch out how you handle the character.
Okay, let me put this in perspective for you. Do you know what I view Kang the Conqueror as? Somebody who can't beat the game with save states. He's poo. Get your high-heeled, blue-faced, wannabe apocalypse, Lego head looking ass the fuck on. He's garbage as a villain inherently. Like, he doesn't have powers. He has technology. Right. I need Stark to go ahead and make anti-Kang tech and just put him down. And then you're done. Kang is garbage.
So, yeah, I can see how you're saying that. But I think this is going to be more, at least better than phase 4. I don't know if we're going to put it on par with phase 3 yet. We're going to have to see. That's what
fair. But the point I'm making is you have so much good source material. The problem also is this, and I think you'll agree with me on this one. Who is one of the most who would you say is the most popular X-Man of all time?
Wolverine.
And I would pretty much agree with that. And Wolverine has what? Some of the best villains.
Yes, he does.
And one of his best villains, designed to be his father, but they changed that.
Sabretooth.
Mm-hmm. You're telling me you wouldn't want to see an R version of Sabretooth? Not a PG-13, a rated R Sabretooth. I'm killing you because I can, Sabretooth. Excuse me. I'm unaliving you because it's a possibility.
I mean, it would be very interesting. They had him in the bad X-Men movies during like the 2000s and whatever.
Yeah, and as much as I love Liv Schreiber, no, that was not it. That was not it.
And so, yeah, but yeah, like you said, I mean, I can't wait. And also specifically because of the fact that he knows they're going to be brought into the Marvel Universe. Remember, Hugh Jackman signed back on to play Wolverine. Now he's back to do some more parts of Wolverine when he knew Deadpool was now going to be brought into the Marvelverse. So,
like I said, we have enough capable storylines that we don't necessarily have to go to the New Guard yet, and we can have a better way to introduce them and make them background characters but perpetually relevant, and then bam, you put them in, as opposed to just, oh, they're just going to be in here and we're just going to accept it. No, make it happen. Make them a consistent character. You know, like Phil Coulson. This man's first name is Agent.
And he's a regular dude.
And you were fine with it.
Like, he's not even like here's the cool thing about, like, you remember the fact that Fury is a dude, like a regular dude for the most part. For what we know, well, actually, I take that back. At times, he's been a regular guy. Wait,
pause, back up. Which Fury? Comic books? MCU?
I'm talking MCU.
Okay.
At this point. But I don't remember Coulson really being a part of comic books. But the thing is that Fury, he was a regular dude, but he was like the highest level of S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff like that. So you expect him to be in the sequel. You did not expect Coulson to make it all the way through phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. You're like, gee, this man actually is surviving.
That's why I give so much credit to Hawkeye, because that scene in Age of Ultron, he's like, I got gods and super robots, and I'm just a guy who can shoot a bow. Why am I here?
I mean, I still remember one of my favorite parts about watching Hawkeye was the fact that he had to deal with his loss of hearing. And I thought that is the most regular dude thing that I have to deal with.
All I hear is Archer. Mop, mop, mop.
And I remember Kate Bishop was just sitting up there like, when did you lose it? He was like, and he went back to all the explosions that he has been through and everything like that.
Yeah.
He's like, it was some point in time from this explosion to this
that
explosion.
And that's why I appreciate Hawkeye more. Especially like one of my favorite Hawkeye moments to the comic book was when he first off, I don't want to admit this out loud, but I actually am a fan of the West Coast Avengers. If you know what that means, just take it with a grain of salt. But they were having an argument. And remember, Hawkeye is a regular dude with unnatural aiming ability. Like, the only people who are better than him are, like, Black Widow and, like, Taskmaster. Like something like that. Everybody else is underneath him or par with him. Mm-hmm. And he's mad at U.S. Agent. And he's like, damn it, I'm sick of yours, and we're going to fight. And this is when he was swashbuckling Hawkeye, not, like Svelte Hawkeye. U.S. Agent mopped the floor with him. But remember, he was the one who'd argue with Captain. He stood up for what he believed in. Now, sometimes he was on the wrong side of history. And sometimes he got that ass beat like he should have. But, that's why you can appreciate the character.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, when Incredible Hulk was like, I need somebody to put me down in case they don't have, who'd he go to? He's like,
the best marksman in the business.
He's like, I still remember during Hawkeye when he sat up there and he pitched, when she was like, well, you don't have a remote. And then he had a smile on his face and went, flick. And it went like through 3 different rooms and hit that TV.
You were saying...
But yeah,
so that makes me wonder, why is he not richer from doing like, bar tricks? Like he goes to a bar and is like, let's play bar darts, pool, beer pong, whatever. Do any of that? Next thing you know, he's making money.
That's a good question.
So neither here nor there. The point being is, it's phase 5 coming out. Let's see what happens. But the problem is that what's the power levels going to be with what we know, what they could be, what they should be?
It's gonna mind boggle. And also, are they gonna have? Is this gonna be the phase they're gonna bring in Galactus? Is this gonna be the phase they're gonna bring in?
Bring him in or reference?
That's a good question. I don't know,
because most intergalactic races know of Galactus. They don't want to see him. They don't want him on the doorstep. But it's going to happen.
During Secret Wars, are we going to talk about Doom? Because he was in Secret Wars.
Well, depends on which Secret Wars, too.
Yeah.
There's so many Secret Wars. There's Nick Fury's Secret War. Then, there's the original Secret Wars with the Beyond. So they've got options. Right. So I want to see how they incorporate it all together. But with that said, is it closing time, brother?
I think it's closing time.
Well, with that said, it's YNB Collins joined with
Brother Wolf.
We had a lot of arguing fun today, so hopefully we'll do it again.
Thank you for listening to the Benchmark Podcast, a product of Benchmark Media, LLC, where we always attempt to establish a positive benchmark. We would like to remind everyone that the views and opinions expressed are strictly the views and opinions of each individual, and those views do not reflect the stance of Benchmark Media. Any opinion stated is not to be construed as professional advice or help. Please contact a professional for any help you may require. We would like to thank all of our guests for today and also for contributions of our listening family. Remember to contact us at therealbenchmarkpodcast@gmail.com or www.therealbenchmarkpodcast.com. Or you can follow us on social media, Facebook, or Instagram. And if you'd like to be a friend of the show, you can donate to us on our PayPal.
You can give me a drink.
All rights reserved by Benchmark Media, LLC.